the Black Panther. Sorry, for Asgard. Uh, when I seen the movie 42, um, starring Chadwick, came out in 2013, and it was a good movie. It was a good movie. Chadwick did his thing, and after I finished watching the movie, I looked at the DVD cover and I was like, this guy is done. Like, I remember saying that to myself because the movie was so good. This guy Chadwick's playing a very uh, popular figure in history or American history. And I looked at the DVD cover after I watched such a good movie, and I said, "This guy is done. They're gonna axe this guy." Fast forward, all of a sudden, then this guy is the Black Panther now. He's the Black Panther. Remind you, I didn't even know of this guy until I seen 42. Even then, I didn't even hear about this guy until I heard that he's gonna be playing the Black Panther, the Black Panther. I call it the Black Panther, the Black Panther, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. This guy goes from playing Mr. 42 Jackie Robinson. Now he's the Black Panther. The obviously not the first black superhero, but he's one of the most popular. And during the time, no, it wasn't. No, it was after Civil War. But during Civil War, long story short, the scene where the Black Panther was talking to Baron Zemo, and in the lab scene near the end, I'm like, after I'm hearing what he's saying, I'm like, this guy is truly done. This guy is done. He is done. Then the movie came out 2018, and during that time, the hype for it was huge. The hype for Black Panther was huge. I don't think, other than maybe the Avengers, maybe Harry Potter, Twilight, things like those, the hype for Black Panther was huge. It was huge in Canada. It was huge in the United Snakes of America. It was huge in Africa. It was huge all over the world. And obviously they were saying that Black Panther's the first black superhero, which is false. Which was Spawn first. Steel, Spawn were actually one of the first ones, and most noticeably was Blade. But they kept saying Black Panther's the first black superhero, which is 100% false. But I get it. It's different times. It's during a time of all this other shootings and all that stuff. So trying to use that to hype up this movie. The movie was okay. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it was great to see Black Panther on the big screen. No, nevertheless, in the movie there's obviously racist subliminal messages and things like that. I wish they just went in a more secular direction, but it is what it is. Then I think years after, 2 years or a couple years after, 2020. Double checking if it was 2020. 2020, 2 years after. He's gone. He's gone. He is gone. Personally, I don't think he's actually dead, or at least he didn't die on the day he said he died. I don't think he's actually dead. But for sake of argument, for sake of this video or everything else, I believe they killed him off because Black Panther during that time was huge. Huge. Black Panther was huge. Chadwick was huge. Imagine just playing one role and you're going this huge. Mind you, I only heard of this guy when I watched 42. Then I stopped hearing about him. I didn't hear about him until I heard he's playing Black Panther, and the rest is history. This was huge, and he did very well in the role. He was huge, yo. He was Thor. Like Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Chris Evans is Captain America. Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. Chadwick is the Black Panther. And I believe they killed him off because he was too big. Too big. Just way too big. And then what they left us with, they don't remember, they don't recast him. They don't recast him, but they also kill him off in the movie, which is questionable. Here you have a chance to continue to sell other toys and merch and have other stories, but you kill him off. Right in the middle of the hype. And I think that was done on purpose because he was too huge. Panther was too huge. And what do they give us? They gave us this lackluster film, lackluster Black Panther. No offense to Shuri, but T'Challa is Black Panther. Obviously, there has been more other characters that played the Black Panther, but T'Challa is Black Panther. They killed him off just so, the hype, the power that he had couldn't, keep going. They could have easily recast him. Easily. But it's no surprising that there is, racism in Hollyweird. There is no doubt that, so-called black actors are treated way differently than anyone else. Going back to Majors and the whole Kang situation, I think that was done on purpose. I think they didn't want to have a so-called black, villain to dominate, to be seen as great just like Thanos. Whether everything is true or not, I don't know. I don't want to get into what's true, what's real or not. But they easily could have recast him. Easily could have recasted him. But they don't want to do that because, again, too powerful for the screen. They don't want that Thanos type presence. So what do? They get this Robert guy to now be the Doctor Doom, to be the big bad guy now. In a way, what they did to Chadwick and Black Panther is what they're doing to Kang and Majors. It's sort of the same thing. Like we can't catch a break, and I know why. It's just part of the whole system. I mean, they'll give us some stuff. I mean, a lot of so-called black actors do very well, but there's still like a lot of shaming rituals. They may not call it that, it may not look like that, but these are shaming rituals. These are, to to stop things from prospering. How do you have such a good character and he so-called died? You don't recast him? And you put up this lackluster film, which is not necessary. Easily could have recasted him. Easily could have recasted him. And then, same thing with Kang. Could have recasted him. Easily could have recasted Kang. But they don't. They don't want to have successful so-called, black guys, black people prospering. And there's another thing with the so-called black people is, can you name me a female black hero, or a black protagonist, a black main character that is like primary positive without any sort of race swapping or race mixing or whatever you want to call it? A lot of these black characters you see that are so prospering is because they're playing characters that were originally another race. Is there a primary black female character that is like 100%, or 99% so positive? Exception of Tiana. That's it. Where are all the other primary, main, leading role, 100% so-called black female characters? And Gamora, she's played by a so-called black girl, lady, whatever. At least she looks black, but she's green in the movie. But they have to be like 100% positive. Oh, you can say the other Captain America lady or whatnot. But they killed her off in Doctor Strange, and you have the other one that's part of a lackluster series right now. There's just barely any. And if there is, they always have to be race swapped into that position. Because they can't have a primary position where they're, the leader, where they're strong, positive. I can't think of any. Main superhero, main leader of a group. That's like positive, not bossy, not a BISTCH. That's like likable. Can't find it. And when they are the leaders, they're always the mean ones. The ghetto. They're always, hood-like. Either lesbian. You name it. And the same thing for the male counterpart. There's rarely any, primary, so-called black leaders, superheroes, princes that are just primary without the mixing. Always, playing second fiddle. Always a sidekick. Always the joke, the butt joke. Never in the lead. And this is done on purpose. It's done on purpose. How the way they treat the so-called, black man, the black woman. I mean, if they really wanted to put us or them on the main stage, the main leader, they could easily do that. But they don't do that because these guys, they have rules that they have to follow. There are people behind the scenes that tell them when and how or who they can put in the front. You think it was that easy for Black Panther to just appear on stage? No, they had to go through stuff. They had to make sure that this character, this actor wasn't too powerful. If they don't find some kind of legal trouble with you, they're gonna kill you off. And that's what they did. That's what they do. This is how it is. Or their show gets canceled. Man, I just wish there were just primary likable female, male, so-called black leaders, main lead, protagonists, antagonists, excuse my pronunciation, in roles. But it doesn't happen because of the system. Because there's certain rules. There's certain rules that have to be followed. There's certain, green lights you have to wait for. If they really wanted to, they could easily do it. I'm pretty sure these movies would do very well. Oh, how about Hancock? Hancock. I like the movie. I like the character, but a lot of negativity with that character. Here we have like a super juggernaut character, superhero, so-called superhero. But he's lazy, he's drunk, he's rude, obnoxious, doesn't listen. So when we get these roles, it's like it comes with some, again, negativity. It comes with legal trouble. It comes with being killed, either in real life or on screen. Like, we can never catch a break. And it'd be silly to ignore the things that go on. The truth is, it's not easy for the so-called black man. In Hollyweird, they may get roles. They may get roles, but in the end, they're going to find something against him. They're going to do something to tarnish or humiliate him or her. Captain America, Falcon is another good example of the so-called black man playing roles that are originally for the so-called white man. Captain America, as we know, is the so-called white man. Steve Rogers is Captain America. We all know that. But what do? Instead of giving this guy a different name or letting him keep Captain Falcon, or keep him as Captain Falcon or just Falcon, they give him the mantle of another white guy. Arrow. Perfect example with Arrow. Oh my goodness. I think it was season 7 or 6. Excuse me. Diggles. And Oliver. Diggles, I don't know, long story short, Diggles wanted to be the new Green Arrow. He wanted to be the Green Arrow. This guy was already Spartan. He already had a name. So why does he need to be the Green Arrow? Again, they do this to show that the black man could only, be in the shadows, could only be a sidekick of the so-called white man. This guy already has a name, Spartan. This guy already has the experience, but he wants to be the Green Arrow. No, you're not the Green Arrow. There's only one Green Arrow. That's Oliver. Make up your own mantle. Why do you need to take someone else's mantle? Well, it doesn't make sense. And this guy was crying and whining because he couldn't be the Green Arrow. It was so stupid. It was such a dumb little subplot. It was so dumb. But they do this on purpose to show that the black man is, in these movies, as actors too, as well, they could only be in the shadows. And Dickles was like the only, the only, there was Curtis, but Curtis is gay. But Dickles was like the only black guy in that show. Only one. But guess what? Guy had a white wife. The guy is the token of the Team Arrow. Token. Don't get me wrong. He has the presence. Like whenever Diggles makes his presence, you feel it there. When he talks, when he walks, you feel it there. Like this, as like a sidekick. Sorry to say that. Like he did very good. Like you felt he was good as a so-called black character, very positive. But again, he was just a sidekick, a side character, in the shadows, dealing with his white wife, or then his white wife then gets superpowers from the Monitor, where she can like travel to other multiverse and all that stuff. And the Monitor also had a white love interest. Curtis, who was black, also had a white love interest. In The Flash, Iris, who's so-called black, she looks native though. That's another story for another day. But Iris in The Flash, who was race swapped again. Iris in the comics was initially white, but Iris is black, and her love interest is a white guy. Same in the movie with Iris. Movie Iris, black, mixed, whatever, love interest white. So there's a lot that goes on in Hollywood like this. A lot. It's like the same pattern. How about this Valkyrie? So-called black, but guess what? She's a lesbian. She might be bisexual, but she's lesbian. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. Falcon, you barely know anything about Falcon. I think they mentioned something in the show, but I don't remember what happened in that show. But barely know anything about this guy's love life or anything like that. I think there's a few more, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. But you know what I mean. There's, it's a system. This is done on purpose. Done on purpose. They don't want to see the so-called black man, a so-called black woman being positive together on these shows. It's a show. It's a fictional show. Why can't we see that in a fictional show? Because they know these shows and movies have a power. They have an influence over people. Influence over people. Fact. Another name just crossed my head. Oh yeah. So there's the Bronze Tiger, Ben Turner, and Bronze Tiger is a so-called black man. He has a so-called black love interest, and they have a pure black child. But off screen, I'm not sure how things went. That his son ends up being adopted by Diggle. So here we have two black characters with a black child, and we don't get to see that dynamics. And the funny thing about this is when Ben Turner meets his son, he meets his son in prison. And what does Ben Turner do? Ben Turner says, "Hey, go wait in the jail cell." These are subliminal things that a lot of people won't catch. He's in prison. Long story short, he meets his son in prison. He tells his son, go wait in the prison cell so he can talk to the white lady. Then long story short, off screen, I'm not sure what happened, but Ben Turner is I don't know, I'm not sure if the actor or the character, but Ben Turner, I'm not sure what happened to them, but his son, Connor Hawke, gets adopted by Diggle. There's so much dysfunction. So much dysfunction in this Hollyweird with these actors, characters, movies, TV shows regarding the so-called black man and the black woman. You're barely to never going to see them in a positive light, in a positive primary light. I'm sure obviously there are shows out there. There are movies out there, but it's so rare. Very rare. Other than superhero movies, can we really name any movies out there with a black, so-called black lead? It's like, I don't know any out there anymore. There's barely any even comedy movies, so-called black comedy movies anymore. There used to be so much out there, but now there's like barely any. It's just pretty much superhero movies and recycled reboot movies, video game movies, story movies. That's it. Where are all these black comedy movies? Where are all these so-called black shows? I don't know what's on TV. I don't watch TV, but you don't hear about them anymore. Back in the day, you heard about the Jeffersons, the Martin, the Fresh Prince, the Family Man. You heard about all these so-called black shows. Hey, I didn't really like all these shows that I mentioned, but at least, we were, or the so-called black man was in the forefront. We had a show where, we got to do our thing. Some positive, some negative, some realistic, some over the top. But we had that chance. But what about now? Now all we have is being the sidekick and replacing these so-called white characters. That's how the system goes. That is the system, man. And these casting directors, these producers, they're not in charge of these movies. They don't really get the last say of, maybe not all of them, but some of them don't get the last say of what happens in a movie. It's these the powers in the hands behind the scenes that gives things a green light that says what should or should not be in a movie. Personally, I don't think a lot of these producers really give a damn about race. I think they wouldn't care who's in the lead. But those behind the scenes, the owners, the greedy elites behind the scenes, ones that controls things, they're the ones that make this narrative. If that wasn't the case, why in every, mainly superhero movies, why are there so many race swapping? And if it is a race swapping, it's usually white to black. So this is not just in one studio. This is in a lot to all of them. The Paramounts, the Warner Bros, the Disneys. So if this was just one studio, I would probably say, hey, maybe it's just, a stationary situation. But no, this is a wide problem that goes from these major studios to studios. And if there is a black character in it, they're usually the sidekick. I'm not saying there isn't no lead shows with black characters, but usually the black character is usually the sidekick or the guy filling in the shoes of the white character. But anyways, I'm going to end it there for Asgard.